right, good evening. I'd like to call to order the regular meeting of the Concord Township Board of Trustees for Wednesday, October 6, 2021. Would you please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, Mrs. Dawson, can we have the roll call, please?
Mr. Dondorfer.
Present.
Mrs. Lucci.
Present.
Mr. McIntosh.
Present. Next item on the agenda is the approval of the minutes from September 15th. There's two. We had a public hearing and a regular trustee meeting.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion to approve the minutes from the September 15th, 2021 public hearing.
And I'll second.
Okay, and all in favor?
Aye.
And one abstention. I was not here, so I will abstain from voting.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Mr. Chairman, I move to approve the September 15, 2021 regular trustees meeting minutes.
And I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And abstain. Okay, moving into elected officials reports. Fiscal Officer Amy Dawson.
Thank you, Mr. McIntosh. As of September 30th, we were 75% of the way through the calendar year. The treasury balance for the 20 active funds within the Township Treasury was $17.5 million. The treasury balance included $1.3 million in funds set aside for specific projects. This does not include the fire station projects. That money will be encumbered when the bid process is completed. Year-to-date expenditures were 38% of the amount appropriated for 2021. The revenue received year-to-date is $94,000 of the amount budgeted. 94% of the amount budgeted for. This does include the second half of our 2020 real estate taxes. We are well within the budget. We will not be receiving real estate tax revenue again until the end of the first quarter 2022, and then we'll start receiving our 2021 real estate taxes. As always, I'm available to answer any questions, so please do not hesitate to email me at adawson@concordtwp.com or call our office at 440-354-7516. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Dawson. Okay, trustee reports. Mrs. Lucci.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. It's hard to believe it's October already. This year is totally flying by. We do have a lot to look forward to, though, towards the end of the year. I had some general discussions this week or the last couple of weeks with residents regarding the pickleball courts and when they will be ready and how we reserve our spot and all those things, and I'm sure we'll touch on those answers a little bit later. I did tell people to call us or call the rec department for some of those answers. We're getting a lot of new neighbors in the area, and I've had some questions regarding HOAs and who are in charge. So I spoke with Heather about that. Maybe we can have some education out there for new residents regarding some of those questions. I met with some township leaders regarding power outages. Mr. Rose and I have spoke with some of the other townships. Mr. Rose has done a lot of homework on this, and I think there's going to be more information on those issues to come. I also got a chance to meet with our sheriffs regarding some policing and additional policing, and I think we have to have more discussion on that as well. We did record another Talk of the Township, and you guys are so much fun to do that with. I think we did another record. It took us like 5 minutes, but other than that, that's about it.
Oh, thank you, Mrs. Lucci. Mr. Dondorfer.
Well, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I won't touch on several of the issues that Mrs. Lucci brought up. I also did receive some calls about the pickleball courts. There's a lot of excitement generated in that. Looks like the middle of the month we're going to open that up, and excited for our residents to come up and use that. I did have some contact with some residents about whether or not our law enforcement services are where they should be, and I know we're going to have some further discussion on that. I did receive a phone call from a resident near Morley and Prouty Road inquiring as to when the traffic signal was going to change that location. I did look into that, and I know there's been a delay with some materials, but I guess recently the site was flagged, so I think that's going to be moving forward here in the near future. I'd like to remind everybody with the end of the month coming up, we've got some great things planned for our Halloweeners in the township that Deb will touch on, so that's exciting. And I think that's it.
Thank you, Mr. Dondorfer. I've had kind of I think a pretty busy month. I've had a couple meetings representing both the township and the JED board on economic development. So we've met with 2 businesses so far that are interested in locating to the township. So that's pretty exciting. Growing businesses. So that's a nice opportunity. I've spoken about several residents about the next phases of Quail. I've had several phone calls about that. And I must have been the month of zoning because most of my correspondence was 3 or 4 different zoning complaints. Somebody contacted me about traffic problems at the Crowd Crossing with regard to Starbucks. And I did get some conversations about the pickleball courts and a few residents that weren't happy. We did not adopt the township-wide trash hauler contract. I know we've all talked to people about that, and it was pretty overwhelmingly voiced to us earlier this year that people were not interested in the township taking out that position. They wanted the freedom of choice, and so not that ship has ever sailed.
So I had a phone call today, actually, of a gentleman who was very pleased that we did not adopt the contract. So share that with you.
Thank you.
Sides.
There is, and it's one of these things where we always, you sit there and have to make a decision, and you're going to make some people unhappy, and it's just the way it goes. But as I think something that will always be open for debate and discussion, and the door's never necessarily closed on that. So, and I will close by saying I did enjoy. Filming Talk of the Township's always great.
Yeah, it's great.
Always goes well, and I think there's good information, so I encourage you to check it out if you haven't. And with that, we will get into our department reports, starting off with Administrator Rose.
Thank you, Mr. McIntosh, members of the board, Mrs. Dawson, members of the audience. Good evening. A lot to cover tonight. I'll start off. In preparation for tonight's vote regarding the bids received for the fire stations project, I will read all the bids received on September 16th, 2021. The bids were as follows. There were 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 bids received. Greenheart Companies, LLC. Base bid for Fire Station 1 was $10 million. They did not bid on Fire Station 2. They did not bid on the combined Fire Station 1 and 2. Hudson Group Incorporated. Base bid Fire Station 1 was $10,125,000. Base bid for Fire Station 2 was $6,150,000. Their combined base bid for both stations was $16,160,000. Infinity Construction, base bid for Fire Station 1 was $9,883,000. Base bid for Fire Station 2 was $5,959,000. The base bid combined for stations 1 and 2 was $15,771,000. Pinnacle Construction, base bid for Fire Station 1 was $9,972,173. Base bid for Fire Station 2 was $5,917,218. The base bid combined Fire Stations 1 and 2 was $15,800,800. Rycon Construction, base bid for Fire Station 1 was $10,228,500. They did not bid on Fire Station 2. They did not bid on the combined. Vendrick Construction, base bid for Fire Station 1, $10,488,000. They did not bid on Fire Station 2. They did not bid on the combined. Sona Construction, they did not bid on Fire Station 1. Their base bid for Fire Station 2 was $6,545,000. They did not bid on the combined. Lakeland, the construction group, base bid for Fire Station 1 was $10,350,000. Base bid for Fire Station 2 was $6,070,000. They did not bid on the combined. Mike Coates Construction, Base bid for Fire Station 1 was $10,886,455. Base bid for Fire Station 2 was $6,450,596. The base bid combined for Fire Stations 1 and 2 was $17,271,036. And finally, Hudson Construction, base bid for Fire Station 1 was $10,998,000. Base bid for Fire Station 2, they did not bid, and they did not bid on the combined Fire Stations 1 and 2. So those are all the bids, and they have now been formally read into the record. Based on the engineer's estimate, all bids were in excess of 14% over the estimate. After consulting with the law director, it is my recommendation that we must reject all bids pursuant to Ohio Revised Code Section 153.12A because all bids exceeded 10%. So we are required, or we must reject all bids. This is item C on tonight's agenda. Moving on, item D is a resolution authorizing for the advertisement of bids for Fire Station 1, just for Fire Station 1. The bid package is currently being updated to incorporate the addendums from the previous bid package, and the cost estimate has also been updated for that. Item F on the agenda is a resolution to retain a law firm, Zashin and Rich, to assist in labor negotiations for the upcoming labor contract for the fire department. Item I is a vote to update the fees for the mailbox barricades. Currently, we charge $40 for the new barricades. That price has been around for a long time. The actual cost of materials exceeds the fee being charged to residents. We're almost at $50. So we're asking for an increase to $50 for the new barricades. There is no change in the fee for a reinstallation of an existing barricade. So that's a minor change to cover the costs. I accepted on behalf of the Township trustees a resignation letter from part-time firefighter Brian Wendell. His resignation was effective on September 13th, 2021. We thank Brian for his service and we wish him well in his future endeavors. The Waterline study project has been completed by CEC. As a reminder, this is the third and final phase of the Waterline study that's been ongoing. This final phase provided the layout cost estimates in order to determine the next steps for the extension of the public water service to certain areas of the township. Just as a review, the four areas in this phase are Girdled Road from Raleigh Court to Hermitage, Girdled Road from Painesville Warren Road to the township line, Auburn Road from Stonewick to Ravenna, and then Cascade from Williams and extending about 2,600 feet to the east. The consulting engineer is working with Painesville Water. They're double checking everything prior to the final submission to us. Once we've received the submission, I will conduct an internal review and then send it along to the trustees with some recommendations. Economic development, Mr. McIntosh touched on a little bit of that. We are still in discussions with some manufacturers looking at Concord Township. And we do have follow-up meetings that are scheduled for the week of the 11th of October. Mrs. Lucci touched on this, but I had a productive meeting with the government liaison from First Energy, Wendy Zeely, regarding the concerns raised on power reliability. We received reports on select areas within the township. One interesting note that indicate over half of the power outages were caused by tree damage from trees that were outside the right-of-way. So I'd just like to take a moment. I want to remind our citizens that if you've got dead trees or branches that are located on private property, they should be taken down if you think they have the potential to hit a power line. Because those are homeowners' responsibilities. The electric company will not trim any trees that are outside of the right-of-way. That's anywhere in the state of Ohio. That's their policy. There are some other upgrades that are coming to one of the substations, which will also improve some reliability. We agreed to have a follow-up meeting in about a month or so we can fully evaluate the information that was provided to us. And, you know, we're also talking with some of our other townships on electrical reliability. So that quest continues to improve electric reliability. I do think our electric reliability is very good. Always room for improvement, and I think even First Energy CEI recognizes that, and there are some upgrades planned. So there'll be some more information coming in the future on that. Moving on, the work on the Kellogg Creek Restoration Project, that's formerly known as the Brightwood Lake Dam Removal Project, that continues. Last week, the fish were electroshocked, which did not harm the fish in any way, but they were electroshocked, removed, and restocked in other lakes and ponds within the Cleveland Metro Parks by wildlife professionals. So the fish got a new home. The lake will slowly be drained, and a safety fence is going to be installed to prevent anyone from accessing the area where the soft bottom is. The dam breach and final dewatering will be completed. We're waiting on Ohio Department of Natural Resources to approve the final leg of the plan, and we expect that any day. A little bit of unfortunate news. I hate bringing this stuff up, but the Porta-John that's located at Concord Hills Park, we've removed it. This action was taken due to constant abuse. I won't get into specifics other than to say the issues that were encountered were well beyond normal wear and tear and often repeated, even with signs that we posted asking people to be respectful. It's unfortunate, but we were starting to be charged extra due to the repairs and the extraordinary cleanup that was continuous, so I removed it. Sheriff's contract, this is a big issue. As you are aware, the county commissioners, in conjunction with the clerk of courts, Faith Andrews, they've offered a form of a COPS grant to the townships. The grant program provides an additional deputy for each deputy we add to our existing contract. The deputy that's paid for by the county would run for 4 years, and then we would assume the cost of that deputy, that extra deputy. We currently contract for 7 deputies right now. We have been internally evaluating the addition of 2 deputies, and the fiscal officer and I, we believe we've worked out the funding stream for the extra deputy. The county, we received correspondence from them yesterday. In correspondence received, they've indicated that we have to take this offer by December 1st, or the offer comes off the table and it sunsets. So we'll need to work on that by December 1st. Finally, I just want to I want to take just a half a second. I want to talk about item E on the agenda. This resolution, and I know Deb may touch on it, but this resolution recognizes the 60th anniversary of our garden club. And, you know, as I've mentioned in the past, our township properties look absolutely fantastic due to the efforts of the garden club. They're out here all the time, you know, tinkering with the flowers, trimming the shrubs. They're at the community center, they're at Old Stone School, they're always making things look just fantastic. So I personally cannot thank them enough for their dedicated effort, and I want to congratulate them on their 60th anniversary, and that concludes my report. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Rose, for that short report.
Trying to keep up with Deb Esker, it's hard work.
There's no PowerPoint. Okay, moving through the order, Fire Department, Chief Sabo.
Good evening, everyone.
Evening.
For the month of September 2021, we ran 237 events compared to 194 in September of 2020. Total runs for 2021 through the end of September is 2,006. which is an increase of 204 from 2020, which in 2020 we had 1,802 year-to-date up to September 31st. These included 162 EMS events with 119 transports to local hospitals. We had 3 fire events inside Concord. We had 1 passenger vehicle fire, which was extinguished upon arrival, and no damage was done to exposed buildings or structures, or nobody got hurt. Outside of Concord, we had 1 building fire in Chardon that we assisted on, and 1 cooking fire in Painesville City that we helped them with. We gave mutual aid to our neighbors 18 times and received mutual aid 14 times, and we had a total number of 73 overlapping calls, or about 31% of our volume in September was all overlapping. Our Fire Prevention Bureau completed 33 inspections, accounting for about 57 hours. They did 6 plan reviews for about 14 hours and participated in about 10 hours of training and continuing education in the month of September. Public education, they did fire extinguisher training for 2 businesses, training 131 people in the proper use of fire extinguishers in their business. They went to Lemuth 6th grade class and taught fire safety and public safety career presentation to 6 classes, reaching 120 students. So that's good. We're trying to reach out to our young ones to develop a career and interest in public safety. We also went to St. Gabriel's pre-K fire safety class. There was 1 class of 18 students. Rick? So the safety tip for October 2021 Fire Prevention Week, learn the sounds of fire safety. Concord's Fire Prevention Bureau is now in full swing promoting the National Fire Prevention Association's campaign to learn the sounds of fire safety. Knowing what to do when an alarm sounds will keep you and your family safe, both inside the home, at school, or wherever you're at. Our fire inspectors, Doug Rott and Brian Spangenberg, along with the duty crew, will be out visiting Concord's daycares, preschools, and elementary schools throughout October. So these are just some of the slides of last year. This year is going to be modified a little bit just due to COVID, so there's not going to be close contact. Actually, I don't think those are even from last year. So we're not sure if the crew or the kids have more fun at these, so Kevin's there having a good time just playing around with the kids. And we focus on all aspects of our firefighters' jobs, not just firefighting, but EMS as well, and fire prevention. Our in-school education programs are presented primarily in October to coincide with Fire Prevention Week. However, fire prevention continues throughout the year. We have a large list of residents who take advantage of our smoke alarm program. To schedule a home check, call 440-354-7504 or send an email request to smokedetectors@concordtwp.com. And fire prevention is a group effort. Over the years, we have teamed up with local businesses, state and federal agencies to get the word out. We've received some financial assistance from Firehouse Subs in Mentor to help us purchase large quantities of smoke alarms. And Concord Township has also teamed up with local agencies and organizations such as Hope Ridge Church to install smoke detectors in the home of a Concord resident who has difficulty hearing. There are smoke alarms to alert devices that alert people who have difficulty hearing, and these devices include strobe lights that flash to alert people when the smoke alarm sounds, as well as vibrating devices that go under your pillow, so it alerts them when they're sleeping. So when they can't hear the alarm or see the strobe, then the vibration wakes them up if their smoke alarm goes off. we're very proud of the partnerships that we have developed over the years and enjoy our community involvement. This was kind of a fun, we were just happened to be driving through the neighborhood, I think this was last year, and these entrepreneurs were out selling lemonade, so we thought we'd stop and support their efforts. So we just want to thank everyone for their continued support to the fire department, and check out our Facebook page and stay tuned for upcoming events that you might see us out and about at. So thank you.
Thank you, Chief. Okay, Service Department, Tim Brown.
Good evening, everyone. The 2021 road resurfacing projects are finally completed.
Woohoo!
Fay Road, the Fay Road area received a mastic fog coat last week, bringing that project to a close. The ODOT Route 608 resurfacing project is also completed last week. The parking lot projects at Town Hall, Service Department, and Community Center were completed and have enhanced the look of all the township properties, and we've got a lot more parking spaces. The Service Department crews are wrapping up their construction season. The concrete slab replacement crew poured over 800 yards of concrete throughout the township this year, and will begin making repairs to the curb inlet basins in the coming weeks. Our drainage crew continues ditch maintenance, culvert replacements, and stormwater enhancements. We continue to work with the Lake County Stormwater Department to improve stormwater runoff throughout the township. The asphalt crews are out making repairs to asphalt roads with the Durapatch machine. Our Service Department also teamed up with Chardon Township Service Department on some full depth repairs to Colburn Road. I'd like to give a special thank you to the City of Kirtland for providing us the use of their paving machine and one of their operators to assist the townships with the repairs made on Colburn. By working with the neighboring communities, we were able to assist each other to curb costs on equipment rentals and having to contract out services. Concord Township's new pickleball courts are awaiting the installation of the perimeter fence. This will be installed on Monday the 11th. And once the fence is installed, the Service Department will install the posts and nets. And if all goes as planned, the courts will be open for play on Friday the 15th.
Ooh.
The yard waste drop-off continues to see a lot of traffic. We remind residents that the yard waste drop-off is open Monday through Friday from 7:30 a.m. to 2:30 p.m. and will continue until 2:30 p.m. on November 30th. The annual Brush Day collection will take place on Saturdays, October 9th and October 16th from 7:30 a.m. to 2:30 p.m. Please see the Concord website for information and a list of what is accepted at the drop-off. The Service Department reminds residents also with any questions, concerns to contact us at 440-350-3225 or by email at concordtwp.com under Service Department. That concludes my report. Anybody have any questions?
Nope. Thank you, Tim. And the
thanks.
parking lot here at Town Hall does look fantastic.
Nice work.
Yeah.
And Heather Freeman for zoning, please.
Good evening.
Good evening.
So during the month of September, the zoning department staff processed 39 zoning permit applications and collected $6,100 in fees. Year to date, we've processed 319 zoning permit applications, of which 67 permits were approved for new single-family dwellings. Additionally, in September, staff performed 31 final inspections for open zoning permits and followed up on 10 new complaints about potential zoning violations. Last night, the Zoning Commission met for their regular meeting. They conditionally approved a new site plan review application for the Auburn Career Center, who's planning on constructing a first responders training facility located on their campus at 8159 Auburn Road. So we're looking forward to seeing how that turns out. Also, they held their public hearing for zoning text amendments to section 16 of the zoning resolution. They voted to recommend approval of all the amendments and will be forwarding those amendments to the trustees. So you may set your public hearing in the near future. Next week, the Board of Zoning Appeals will meet for their regular meeting. They're going to have 3 new cases to review. The detailed agenda may be found on the township's website under public meetings. If there's any other questions, I'm happy to answer them. That's it for this evening.
Thank you, Heather.
Thanks, Evan.
All right, and now recreation, Deborah.
Good evening, everybody.
Evening.
As we welcome fall and enter into this magical time of year, your Concord Township Recreation Department offers innovative, family-friendly programs, robust class schedules, entertaining programs for seniors, and much more. We also have some exciting news to share on facility updates for our residents. So here's what we got planned for residents and guests this month. Rick, PowerPoint, please. Got to double click. The Concord Community Center has a beautiful new look. The building was recently re-sided with sturdy and durable vinyl siding, giving the center a fresh, new, updated appearance. Crews also repaved the entire parking lot, repainted stripes for parking spaces. Outside, the lighting was fixed so that the parking lot is brightly illuminated for all of our evening activities. It is beautiful. Residents are welcome and encouraged to stop by and check out the Concord Community Center new look. And just an FYI, we are booking up quickly. So if anyone is interested in renting the community center, especially this year, please contact the Recreation Department very soon. There we go. Pickleball has arrived in Concord Township. 2 new pickleball courts, as we all know, are currently being completed on the Town Hall campus, and as you've alluded to before, they're scheduled to be ready for open play beginning October 15th. The idea is to watch how residents use the courts. We'll learn from that and then go from there. The Recreation Department will offer pickleball classes next spring, and we look forward to coordinating teams. So if residents are interested, just contact the Recreation Department anytime. If you're interested in joining a team and have ideas and feedback on how to use those courts. Take time for yourself this fall and enroll in a leisure class through the Recreation Department. In October, our classes include Pilates Yoga Fusion, Gentle Morning Yoga, a martial arts program that welcomes both kids and adults, pound classes, Tai Chi. Our photography series is back with photography from A to Z, learning Lightroom and Photoshop elements. We have an introduction to amateur radio class, create beautiful stained glass Christmas trees, chalk couture classes that make these adorable little holiday farmhouse signs, a Microsoft Windows for Adults class, and a Getting Started with Medicare class. Residents and guests are welcome to register for classes online at concordtwp.com or simply call the Recreation Department for immediate assistance. The Recreation Department has teamed up with the Mentor Public Library to offer library programs on Tuesday mornings at the beautifully re-sided Concord Community Center. Earlier this week, residents and guests learned how a meeting on a tennis court changed the course of the French Revolution. On October 12th, the library staff presents Urban Legends of Ohio with a discussion afterward. Library Tuesday programs are free and open to the public. However, we do ask guests to pre-register so we can save your seat and your treat. Whoops. Thank you, Rick. Let's go back one slide, please. Earlier today, residents and guests learned what they can do to increase strength, stability, and balance, and ultimately prevent falls at this afternoon's senior social. Our next senior social, thank you, Rick, is October 20th, when guests will participate in a poker run, where they drive to 5 designated locations in beautiful Concord Township and collect playing cards at each location, along with interesting historical facts. The last stop's the community center for refreshments, and the best poker hand wins a gift basket. It's a really adorable idea. On October 27th, we'll host our monthly bingo afternoon, complete with prizes and fierce but friendly competition. Senior socials are free and all are welcome. Just contact the Recreation Department again to reserve your treat and your seat. And now, Concord Township's annual Candidates and Issues Forum will be held on Wednesday, October 13th in the Auburn Career Center Auditorium. The forum begins promptly at 5 p.m. Speakers will include Trustee Lucci and Trustee Dondorfer, as well as the majority of candidates running for local school boards. It'll also include speakers on all 3 issues on the ballot. The forum will be videotaped and made available for on-demand viewing through the Township's website. Candidates and Issues forums are very effective ways to get familiar with candidate platforms and hear the details behind the issues, and as always, they're free and open to the public. Ahoy, mateys. What happens when a pirate falls into the Red Sea? He gets marooned. Why do pirates have a hard time learning the alphabet? Because they get stuck at sea. Okay, I could go on, but I won't, but I'm just setting the mood for Concord Township's Halloween treasure hunt and pirate party on Saturday, October 30th. From 10 a.m. to noon, families are invited to drive around beautiful Concord Township to collect treasure and treats from 7 different locations. And then head over to Concord Township's gazebo at around 12:30 for a pirate party featuring the Blackjack Gypsies Band. And you can bet your one-eyed parrot that the Recreation Department will have a lot of fun events along with it. X marks the spot on your calendar for the October 30th Halloween Treasure Hunt and Pirate Party. So you can download this map from www.concordtwp.com today. And printed copies of the map are also available at the Concord Community Center and at Town Hall, and electronically available on our website. And they were also in the October version of the e-Grapevine newsletter. Okay, so just one more. So a pirate goes to a dermatologist to get his moles checked. The doctor says, "You're fine, they're B9. The pirate says, "Check again, I think they're B11. Okay, moving on. We're moving on. Neighborhood trick-or-treating in Concord Township will take place on Halloween, Sunday, October 31st from 6 to 8 p.m. We always look forward to seeing all the little ghosts and goblins running around the neighborhoods. So everyone, please take a little extra care that evening when you drive around the township, and let's just all look out for each other and take care of each other. And here's another reminder that Concord Township celebrates our bicentennial in 2022. Residents will receive a special edition of the bicentennial publication that'll be included in the winter-spring edition of the Grapevine newsletter, and that will all be sent out in early January. So this special edition of the bicentennial publication will list information about all of the events, the bicentennial themed events, to honor our township throughout the year. And we warmly invite residents and businesses to get involved. So simply just contact the Recreation Department for opportunities on sponsorship, on getting involved, and talk to us about the bicentennial. And finally, I am very happy to report, as we've stated before, that the Garden Club celebrates its 60th anniversary this year. In honor of the ladies of the Garden Club and their very important work, we created a formal resolution to present to them at their anniversary luncheon next week. Fiscal Officer Dawson has that resolution for your signatures and your vote. It's scheduled later tonight under new business item E. So heartfelt congratulations to the beautiful, lovely ladies of the Garden Club. We thank you for all of the beautiful work that they do. And that concludes my report tonight. Thank you so much.
Thank you,
Thanks,
Deb. And with that, Sergeant Falvey with Concord Law Enforcement Report.
Hopefully I don't depress you all now after her. But we responded to 856 calls for service, 20 injury accidents, 5 property damage accidents. We had 12 arrests for the month of September. One was an adult female for trespass, resisting arrest, aggravated menacing, female for domestic violence and assault, a male for improper handling of a firearm, a male for failure to comply, and a male for felony warrant and no operator's license. 3 OVI, operating a vehicle intoxication arrests, 24 citations for traffic violations, 135 warnings, 42 business checks were conducted, 26 crime prevention. We responded to 15 disturbances, 8 domestic investigations, and 53 suspicious circumstances and vehicles and persons. And that is it for the month.
Thank you, Sergeant. All right, concluding department reports, I will open up to the audience, and we'll start with anybody present at Town Hall. All right, seeing none, I will invite our virtual participant if there's any questions or you'd like to address the board. Okay, not hearing anything, we'll move into old business, which we have none. And next item on the agenda will be the new business. We have, respect to item C, which is rejecting the bids of the fire station, we have our owner's rep here this evening. So what I would like to do, I know that I spent some time talking with him when we got the bids in. I'm not sure who else did, but I'd like to invite Mr. Riachi up to sort of take us through his review of everything that happened, and I think we've probably got some questions, and there'll be a little bit of dialogue about where the project stands at this point.
Good evening.
Good evening.
As Andy stated earlier, we had 10 bids. We look at the low 3 bidders. The numbers were pretty close, so that gives us a pretty good indication that the low 3 bidders were pretty competitive, and the numbers were competitive. Once you get past number 5, it started jumping from there. But we still have some pretty good competitive bids, which is indicating of the market and where the numbers are. So we didn't have any big discrepancies. It didn't look like there was somebody that was very low number within the low 5. If you look at them, they're all within a couple percent of each other. So that's unfortunately where the market is right now with the construction industry. As Andy stated, it's over the 10% of the engineer's estimate that was provided to you earlier. So we have to reject them. Our recommendation, along with Andy's, is to go back to bid for fire station number 1, adjust the estimate, and then go from there. So that's kind of where we're at. I'll be happy to answer any questions that you might have.
So you think it's better to not wait to go back and bid now? I know we're not sure if prices are going to change, but is 3 months going to make a difference at this point, or?
Unfortunately, 3 months are not going to make a difference. The way the industry, with what we're seeing with the industry and more projects coming online and being bid, we don't see that as 3 months is going to make any difference. Truthfully, if anything, it's going to hurt. It's not going to help, in our personal opinion, from what we're seeing and hearing from material suppliers and other construction projects coming out for bid. On the short term, I don't think that waiting 2 or 3 months is going to help at all. I think going out now, that as soon as we can, because the subcontractors still have their numbers, they can update them fairly quickly. We might be able to get a few more interested, subcontractors, suppliers into the bid process. It's probably best to do it now than to wait. We don't see this in the next short term, 3, 6 months, even 10 months. Truthfully, we're not foreseeing numbers coming down in the short term, because the supply is still not catching up to the demand. Is the bottom line.
Minister, when was the engineer's estimate was redone this spring, correct?
It was done in May.
May. Okay, so the difference in cost, I'm in manufacturing, so I've seen over the summer not only cost explode, but availability go from something. 34 years in business, I've never back ordered, I've never had a backlog longer than 10 days, and I ended up at 60 days, 6 to 8 weeks, and sat around waiting to make orders because there was literally no material. Are those, in your industry in construction, are you seeing some of the same ripples? Is that what's driving the cost? We went with an engineer's estimate in May, and then September, put it out to bid in October, only a couple of months, and we yielded in excess of 10%. What are the drivers on this?
It's a combination of shortages of material, labor, forces being busy, not having enough labor force in the out there. So it's a combination of both. You have an issue with labor. You definitely have an issue with material deliveries and driving the cost up. The manufacturers are all back ordered. Everybody's calling for orders, and numbers keep going up. Raw material is hard to get. Shipping is becoming an issue.
Right.
Right now, if you were to order steel, for instance, for a big project, fortunately the fire station, the steel package is not a huge, but let's say you're ordering a 3-story building, you're probably looking at 8 to 10 months before you get your material. It's just material deliveries have been a nightmare, and cost goes along with it, obviously.
So your opinion is this trend will continue as far as the shortage of materials? Obviously, there's probably an increase in costs for the labor force, right? Because there's only so many, there's people that aren't working, the ones that are working are being paid.
Well, your project is a prevailing wage project because of the nature of the public bidding. So those rates are set. We're not looking at an increase till, later on in 2022 from hourly rate. But obviously, shortage of labor might be a different story that would increase it. But as far as the material is concerned, yes, to answer your question, we are seeing the trend. It keeps going because we do not have. We're not seeing the material getting stocked and stored in at the suppliers' locations where you can call and get an order right away. So that tells us that things are still back ordered. There's still high demand, low supply on it. So yes, it's unfortunately the trend is there.
And would you say the general rise in material contract? I mean, if the supply chain continues to be stretched as it is, and I know that we're catching up with some of the material, but I also know that the backlog of getting it is not changing. The lead times are triple what they normally are. The cost is triple what it normally is. Do you see anything going on? I mean, there's talk about infrastructure bill and different things that are going to cause any of this to crest out, or are we looking at, I mean, we're not looking at a cost that's going to be down closer to pre-pandemic or 12 months ago for any foreseeable future, correct?
I totally agree with that. I mean, unfortunately, in my industry, what we've always seen is the prices go up. They very rarely come back down anytime soon. I mean, it takes something. It takes a crash, unfortunately, for them to come down. I mean, we saw a price adjustment in the construction industry in 08, 09, 10 because of everybody knows what happened then. So we're not seeing those prices are going to drop any drastic until we have the supply and the demand kind of get together or get lopsided again.
And if you have the federal government funding infrastructure spending over the next 5 years, the numbers they're talking about, you're not going to see those kinds of crashes coming.
We're not. Okay. I mean, you even if you look at just the residential market, I mean, the demand is so great up there that they can't keep up with the buildings.
Do you have any idea what percentage the amount of steel has gone up since when we get that engineer's estimate in May?
I don't give you a specific number, but I would venture to say every bit of 30% on the steel. I mean, there is some specific items, piping, for underground steel. There's a lot of items that have had huge spikes. We've had, like, drywall has gone up, but not as much. Metal studs, wood framing has gone up. Lumber has stabilized a little bit, but we've had the spike earlier. I mean, the lumber spike happened earlier in the year.
Copper, I'm guessing, is through.
Copper has gone up. I mean, and it keeps going. I mean, the part of the issue now that we're facing is, prices are being held for 2-3 weeks, and then there's adjustments. Sometimes it goes up, sometimes it stays where it's at. We're not seeing it going down. So it's either it stays or it goes up. So we're not seeing. I mean, they're not. Typically, we used to get on material 2 increases a year. You get a notice, hey, January 1st it's going to go up, a few percent, and then in April you get your notice June 1st, either it stays where it's at or it's going to go up. Well, now it's every 4 weeks, every month is pretty much what we're seeing.
I know in my industry, I know manufacturers that are on their 4th increase in 9 months.
Cool.
I'm on my 3rd round at this point. So your recommendation is that we just go ahead and proceed. We've got a little bit of work to get an estimate back in line, so that when these numbers come in, they'll be a little bit more in line, and just keep moving is the best bet as far as trying to do this optimally and get it done.
That is our recommendation. Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions for Mr. Hachi? I thank you for your time.
Thank you.
And I just wanted to, having had some conversation with Mrs. Dawson about about things. And Mr. Rosa, and the recommendation is just to go forward looking at only Station 1, forgetting the dual bid, forgetting, and just sort of setting aside Station 2 at this time and focusing on bidding that project and getting that project through to completion. And we're looking at, I mean, at this point, a chunk of time now. I know construction's been about 18 months, but given the supply lead times, that could probably stretch is what I'm hearing. So we focus on that and regroup on the second half of the project.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Any other comments or questions from the board?
No, thanks.
I also know that we had some, Mr. Rose had brought up the offer from the commissioners and coming from the title fund, the clerk court's office, regarding law enforcement. We're kind of on a clock now. We've got a little bit of diligence to do as far as taking or leaving an offer that would be at the start of the, or coming here at the end of the year in December. Mr. Rose, if I was correct in my reading of the American Recovery Plan Act funds, supporting law enforcement is one of the things that funds are. Are we looking into that? Is that something we can allocate?
We are investigating that. I am talking with a bunch of my counterparts. I know that Jason Boyd, who's the county administrator, is looking at it from the County Administrators Association. I'm on the executive board of Clout down in Columbus. We're looking at it. We're also consulting, and I'll be sending some stuff to the law director in the near future once I've done I try to do a little bit of homework before I send it over to Mr. Lucas. But I think there is a provision in the American Recovery Act plan funding that does allow a community to utilize ARPA money for certain aspects of law enforcement, yes.
Any thoughts from the board as far as, that offer? I know I have a former sheriff's department employee sitting next to me, intimately familiar with the patrol of Concord. So,
well, I mean, if I could take a few minutes, I can maybe shed some light on our residents of how we came to be, how the township came to be involved in funding a portion of the sheriff's patrol division. But back during the financial and economic crisis of 2007 to 2008, the Board of Commissioners then had some discussion on trimming the budget, and the biggest budget in the county is always the sheriff's budget. Okay, so at that point in time, the county commissioners up until that point in time were funding all of the patrol deputies for the townships with the money from the general fund, from other municipalities and things of that nature. There was some discussion at that point in time when the Board of Commissioners decided that after review of the sheriff's responsibility, which is rather vague, but to summarize it, it's to respond to emergencies and to restore order and peace, that due to the critical infrastructure that is within Lake County, i.e. the nuclear power plant, which the sheriff's department is a primary responder, first responder to, that they would fund 12 deputies to respond to emergencies at that point in time. And if the townships wanted additional patrol services, i.e. law enforcement presence within the townships, patrolling, taking criminal complaints, responding to non-emergencies, that they would need to fund that part of it, that component. So when we sat down in 2008 with the townships and pitched the idea about funding that with the commissioners, since they were going to only fund 12 deputies for emergency response, the plan was to get Concord to 10 deputies, at least 10, based on the demographics at that point in time. Painesville Township to 10 deputies, Perry Township to 5, and Leroy was sort of out in limbo at that point in time. So I was charged with the administration and developing a patrol plan, and to summarize it quickly, is that what happened was the initial cadre of officers that were funded by the townships for patrol services came out of Concord Township, financial support from Concord Township and Painesville Township. With that, we knew eventually down the road there would have to be a levy to support and sustain that and obviously grow it, because the goal was to at least to get to 10 in Painesville and Concord. We fast forward and get to the safety services levy, and that funded some additional deputies. So right now where it sits is, I think we sit at 7, Painesville Township sits at 6. Over the years, Perry Township had tried to put on a levy twice, it failed. They are now going to be putting on 4. And we are looking at shoring up law enforcement services within the township. And now we have this proposal, which is a model of the federal cops grant, where, you know, if the township pays for one and the county pays for another for, what is it, 3 or 4 years? 4 years. Yes, sir. After 4 years, the township entities would have to assimilate those salaries. You know, in my professional opinion, personal opinion, I mean, based on the demographics in Concord Township, you know, we're almost at 20,000 residents. The dynamics that we live in now, there is a need for additional law enforcement resources, but it's how do we get there? Right. You know, we have to have the right roadmap, because what you don't want to do is build up that cadre of officers and not be able to support it down the road when we have to assimilate those salaries. So it's important, I believe, that we build towards that 10 that we had originally planned to do back in 2007 and 2008, because we're at 7 now, and move towards that. And, you know, based on, you know, the FBI statistical data, based on demographics, crime statistics, that being part 1, part 2, part 3 crimes and calls for service, there's a need for additional law enforcement resources within Concord Township. I want to be fiscally responsible when we do it, and that's the plan we have to come up with.
I know that's something that you've mentioned actually since you and I started working together, and you've been speaking more to that point throughout this year, even before this opportunity came up. So I know, Mrs. Lucchini.
Yeah, thank you for giving us sort of the lowdown and the history on that. And I agree, you know, I think we have to have a long-term solution in the forefront as well. You know, obviously I support the sheriff. I think it's important to have police presence anyway. It just sort of helps deter crimes. So what are the standards then for population? Is it one? What?
1 per 1,000.
1 for 2,000 or 1 for 1,000?
I thought it was 1 per.
1 for 1,000?
One for 2,000.
One full-time equivalent for 2,000 people.
I think that sounds.
So right now, if we're funding 7 right now, the township is getting on a day-to-day basis 1.75 deputies, which, you know, you've got to take into account their days off training.
Right.
So you literally have 1.75 officers on daily in Concord Township for a population of almost 20,000. Now, not to mention there's an agreement between the townships that we share our paid resources of law enforcement for mutual aid. So when you get a priority call or an injury accident or call a crime in progress, like a domestic, where an officer in Painesville Township needs a backup car, that car might be pulled from Concord Township, might be one of the officers that's funded by the county, but we sort of share and shuffle our resources so that we can do it safely.
And I guess that's my question. So, you know, we get more, but, you know, if there's emergencies elsewhere, you know, how, you know, are we going to have more sheriffs around? Or, you know, so yeah. I feel like it's hard to quantify, or, you know, and.
It is, and I think, you know, initially we laid out that plan of, you know, 10 in Concord and 10 in Painesville and 5 in Perry. The townships were going to move towards that, and I know initially in 2008 the county funded 12, but as times change, the population changes, there's additional population, and there's new infrastructure, and there needed to be some additional growth, I think, at the county level too, as far as funding additional law enforcement resources. But, you know, I think if we add additional law enforcement resources in the township, it sort of allows us to keep more accountability of the deputies that we're funding by keeping them in the township, because you're sort of going to understand where your mutual aid is being utilized, because you can get that data from the sheriff's department.
I had a conversation earlier, a few months ago, with the sheriff actually about that, and was kind of going through call stats, and I know that I think we're second or third in line, but there's the fact that Painesville, I know some of our cars are going out to Carl's point, we're losing patrol to back up on priority calls, but the fact that Perry's making an effort to bring some resources to the table, which hasn't been the case for the last 11 years, right. That's a game changer, so that certainly helps us. I think taking advantage of what the money the county's offering up is definitely something we should do. I know I've had some loose conversations with Mrs. Dawson about it, but I'd like to continue the discussions in pursuant to Mr. Rose's diligence regarding ARPA funds. I think that's something we should take a look at and see how this might, what our options are, what the possibilities are as far as taking advantage of that generous offer. So we got a little bit of work to do and some time to get it done in. So. Anything else?
No, sir, thank you.
All right, well, with that, let's move into our votes for the evening. So we'll kick it off with item A.
Mr. Chairman, I move to approve the September financial report.
I'll second.
And any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. It's 3 affirmative votes.
Mr. Chairman, I vote to approve the zoning text amendment to section 13.33E, outside dining, to delete the existing requirement for maximum outside seating capacity.
I second.
Okay, any discussion?
No.
I would just add that with the Planning Commission and Zoning Commission's recommendation and the fact that we've already provided variances to this effect, I would agree that this is a reasonable. So all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. 3 yeses.
I move to reject all bids related to the fire stations project.
I'll second.
And discussion?
I think from what we heard from our owner's rep and Mr. Rose, I think it's probably the best decision at this time.
Yeah, I mean, with it being in excess of 14% and under statute it exceeds 10%,
I think we have a choice.
we don't have a choice.
Yeah.
Right.
Based on our
I would concur, and I think the sooner we can get back to bidding based on seeing, from my personal experience where costs are going, I think we need to get back to that. So
yeah, and it's not going to go down.
it's not going to go down, so
we need to
get on it.
move on.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. The motion carries.
Mr. Chairman, I vote to approve Resolution 2021-21, a resolution by the Concord Township Board of Trustees to advertise for bids for the Concord Township Fire Stations project.
Should that say Fire Station 1 or does that matter?
The resolution actually contains language that it's just for Fire Station 1.
I will second.
All right, and assuming we've covered discussion, anything else? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I
Okay.
move to approve Resolution 2021-22, a resolution to honor the Concord Garden Club on their 60th anniversary.
And I will second. They do an outstanding job.
Yes,
And
they
Mr.
do.
Rose, would you please read that resolution?
I would be happy to. Resolution 2021 TAC 22, recognizing the Concord Garden Club's 60th anniversary. Whereas the Concord Garden Club, originally known as the Concord Garden Study Club, was formed in 1961 and is now celebrating its 60th anniversary in 2021. And whereas the many members of the Concord Garden Club form an active group of avid gardeners dedicated to all phases of gardening and sound horticultural practices, contributing to local civic beauty and strongly supporting the conservation of natural resources. And whereas Concord Garden Club members have volunteered thousands of expert hours enhancing the grounds of Town Hall Commons, the Concord Community Center, the Old Stone School, and the Concord cemeteries. The club's work on these properties, including plant and tree selection and maintenance, Arbor Day ceremonies and tree restoration, holiday decorating, and overall guidance on township gardens, all demonstrates their commitment to our community and presents a charming and welcoming environment for the residents and many visitors of the township. Now therefore be it resolved that the Concord Township Board of Trustees, Lake County, Ohio, does hereby with great honor and privilege recognize and publicly wish to extend its utmost gratitude and appreciation to all the members and friends of the Concord Garden Club for their continued and everlasting dedication and commitment to the township and its residents.
Thank you, Mr. Rosen.
Thank you.
I'd just like to add, the Garden Club does indeed do a fantastic job, and it's an honor to have them.
Amazing.
And all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion to approve Resolution 2021-23 to enter into an agreement to retain the law firm of Zashin and Rich as labor counsel for the purposes of contract negotiations in the fire department.
I second.
Any discussion? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Mr. Chairman, I move to approve Resolution 2021-24, the amended permanent appropriations dated 10/6/2021.
I'll second.
Mrs. Dawson, can I have a roll call, please?
Mrs. Lucci.
Yes.
Mr. Dondorfer.
Yes.
Mr. McIntosh.
Yes.
Okay, Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion to approve fire department conditional offer of employment to Anthony Iliano Jr., part-time firefighter, EMT, basic pending background check and physical.
I second.
I'm happy about that. It's a nice young man. I've known him growing up, and it's great to see him joining the Concord Township team.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Mr. Chairman, I move to approve to set the mailbox barricade installation fee at $50.
I'll second.
And all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. We just need to read these.
I can do it.
Mrs. Dawson, would you please read the items voted on at the staff meeting?
I would be delighted, Mr. McIntosh.
Thank
Okay. Item number 1, approve conditional offer of employment to Jason Baxter, facility attendant, pending pre-employment screening. Mr. Dondorfer moved to approve the conditional offer of employment to Jason Baxter, facility attendant, pending pre-employment screening. Mrs. Lucci seconded. The vote was 3 ayes. Number 2, approve conditional offer of employment to Kelly Barthel, facility attendant, pending pre-employment screening. Mr. Dondorfer moved to approve conditional offer of employment to Kelly Barthel, facility attendant, pending pre-employment screening. Mrs. Lucci seconded. Vote was 3 ayes. Number 3, approve a conditional offer of employment to Tracy Butler, program coordinator, pending pre-employment screening. Mr. Dondorfer moved to approve conditional offer of employment to Tracy Butler, program coordinator, pending pre-employment screening. Mrs. Lucci seconded. Vote was 3 ayes. Then there was the executive session for the purposes of considering economic development pursuing to ORC 121.22 G 8A and B. Mrs. Lucci moved to enter into executive session for the purposes of considering economic development pursuing to ORC 121.22 G 8A and B. Mr. Dondorfer seconded. Roll call vote. Mrs. Lucci, yes. Mr. Dondorfer, yes. Mr. McIntosh, yes.
You want to just keep going with the meetings and announcements?
Thank you, Mr. McIntosh. Future meetings and announcements on October 11th will be closed in observance of Columbus Day. On the 13th of October, 7 p.m., be a Board of Zoning Appeals meeting here at Town Hall. October 19th at 5 p.m., the Bicentennial Committee Planning meeting will be held at the Community Center. On October 20th from 6:30 to 7:30 p.m., trustee office hours in the conference room, and 7:30 p.m. trustee meeting here at Town Hall. That's what I have.
All right. Okay, and with that, I will, not too bad, a lot of ground covered in an hour and 8 minutes.
A lot done
Yeah, we
today.
did.
All right, that we will conclude tonight's meeting. Thank you.
Good evening.
Thank you.
That was a lot of ground.